So this is the moment that you have decided that you want to learn 1d4. And I have to say, when I started playing chess, like most people, I started with e4, and I go ahead and throw this idea away because now I've been a true d4 player for over 10 years. And first and foremost, Fischer said e4 is best by test, but I say, Fischer, when I move out the pawn, the queen's defending it. So I have no weaknesses. I like no weaknesses personally. Now, let's get right to it. I'm going to show you every single different opening that black can throw against you against 1d4. I'm going to go fast because there's a lot, but we'll say, watch this video. The way you need to practice this, get out a chessboard, and after I go through a line, rewind the video, and you physically go through it on the chessboard. The more you do it, the more muscle memory you get. I need you to be able to go through these moves like I say my ABCs. A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. I don't have to think. It just rolls off the tongue. Now, your moves need to roll out of your mind, through your body, through your hand. The knowledge needs to be there as fast as you can say your ABCs. That's when you know you got it. That's when you know you can stop practicing. Let's jump right in. So against d4, the two most popular moves that you're going to see is d5 and knight f6. So let's go ahead and stab out some of these sidelines. Let's first look at the nasty, nasty Dutch. Now, honestly, there's a ton of different Dutch variations if you just play normal moves like c4, but I'm recommending this kooky move, knight c3. If you want more games than what I show here, I would definitely recommend looking this position up in the database with Varusian Akobian playing white, because he's one of the foremost practitioners in the world, and he's really excellent at it. After knight f6, he plays bishop g5. We will see this type of structure in a lot of our variations, except the pawn will typically be on c4. So keep this in mind as a universal principle throughout our openings. And after d5, we want to mess up the pawn structure, put our bishop on a good square, and then we have the ability to castle either way our heart desires. So that pretty much covers the Dutch. Like knight c3 and put the bishop on g5. And I mean, you got a decent game. You can't complain about that. Just put your pieces on good squares. Bishop goes on d3, knight goes on f3, play chess. All right. So let's roll it backwards, and let's start knocking out d5. After c4, we have a standard Queen's Gambit position. Now, there are a ton of different variations that black can throw at you. So let's first start with if he captures. We simply defend. And keep in mind, if they do moves like this and they get greedy, you can punish them hardcore here. a4, he can't play a6 because that's going to hang a rook. And after c6, when I take, he takes back. All right, pause your video because there's the tactic here. Find it. All right, hopefully you found queen f3, exclam, because that rook or a piece is going to hang. He can throw the knight in the way, but that's going to be mine. So, keep in mind, greed is bad. If they're not following opening principles, controlling the center, getting their pieces developed, and doing everything right, this move over here is definitely not center control or development. Not getting our king castled. There's going to be something wrong with it. Sit there and find it. You got time to think in a tournament game, do it. So typically after e3, they're just going to play developmental moves, let you get the pawn back, and then we're going to quickly reach a position where we just put our pieces out. He's going to counterattack in the center. If you're playing a higher rated opponent, you can take here and just trade queens, and you got a simple position. But if you're playing against a lower rated guy, you can go for it. As soon as you get all your pieces out, I'm a happy camper. Like, literally, one plan here is to play for mate. I'm going to put the bishop there. I'm going to slide the bad boy back, put the queen there, try to take that guy, and yeah, mate him on h7. That's one plan that you can use in the structure. Plus, we're setting a sly trap here. If he takes, when I take back, Dropskis, the queen is dead. All right? So keep these little tricks in mind that when you're setting up attacks, they're littered all throughout your openings. If you take your time and find them, you set little traps for the guy. All right, so coming back, Queen's Gambit. Now we got the counter Gambit. Now this one is nothing to worry about. Take the e-pawn, a lot like we'll see with the Budapest Gambit. And after d4, knight f3. And after knight c6, he's just attacking his pawn, trying to get it back. Key move, a3. This is a memory marker in your head because I do not want his bishop to be able to get out to b4 to check my king and cause me any sort of problems there. So now he starts going with Morozevic's idea with knight e7. He's the guy who reinvigorated this opening back in the early 2000s. After b4, Borisov Rook in the Grandmaster Repertoire series recommended this very simple line that trades everything down. But notice after e3, I have a Budamus bishop. He is doing some serious work looking at key squares. And my other bishop can very quickly do some damage, like, I don't know, take the free knight. So black has to move the knight, and in the process, we just have a slightly better position. I'm going to put this knight here. I'm going to put the rook on c1, try to tickle the c file, see what I can do with that. Very, very simple stuff here. All right, now, going back. Now we only have two other moves which are more natural. He's got a pawn in the center, and going off of the principles that I've worked with you on, you want to defend it with either c6 or e6. c6 is the Slav, e6 is the Queen's Gambit decline. So, let's go with c6 first. Now, you need to have a structure in mind. First, we play knight f3. If he takes, I'm not scared of this. I'm just going to play e3. And we've learned about b5. We hit it with a4, and then we're not going to have any problems. And you're like, well, he can hold on to this, right? He's just going to play bishop b7. All right. So I'm going to play b3. Now, this tears down the wall really easy. Because after he takes, I'm going to take here. And when he takes back, check yourself. And after here, once I take the pawn, it looks like white's cheating. I'm going to be honest. Like, this pawn, I'm not so worried about. He's not going anywhere. I'm just going to castle, eventually double rooks on that file and win that guy. No problems. And in the meantime, I probably have some action over here on the king side. So that's a line I wanted to throw in there that we do not have to worry about at all. So normally they're going to play knight f6, e3, and keep in mind, no matter what Slav they use, other than that capture line, you can do what I'm showing you. You play b3, and we just have this perfect, beautiful setup, and our pieces are going to conveniently go inside here. Now, after castles, bishop d3, and this is the image you need to have in your mind when you play the Slav. Keep in mind, you want to watch out for moves like e5, because sometimes if you're not fully prepared, just don't let this happen. Don't let the pawn fork you, please. I've seen it happen too much in my time on this earth with students losing pieces this way. So when they do this, usually the answer is going to be take on e5. Okay, so rolling it back, we have ourselves the Queen's Gambit decline. And after knight c3, only two variations really. You got yourself bishop e7, and I just want you to take. Just take. And when he takes, I'm just going to put my pieces on decent squares and play some chess. Just play some chess. No problems here, man. And then the other line is with knight f6. We exchange again. Just keep it simple. Take. Then after bishop g5, we got pins and stuff. Now, this line I'm showing you with white is taking the aggressiveness to the max here. h3, and after h6, I ain't scared. I done told you. Bishop f4. g4. Uh-oh. What's this? Yeah, we're going after the king because we went long. And we know when people castle on opposite wings, you fling the pawns and rip the guy open. And with these two moves, we're already starting our attack. So he starts his, but we're already almost there. It's go time, baby. g5, we're ripping him open. It's time to play, except he's not having any fun. So if he comes to play c4, all right, bishop f5, black is far away from giving us any problems, and we're right here at his door knocking. All right, so of all those lines, that Queen's Gambit line, this last one that we're looking at, the one on the position right now, get this one down most importantly. You're going to see this so frequently, you're going to love this position. It's so much fun to play, just great overall. All right, so now let's start knocking out some of the knight f6 stuff, and there's a lot of them. So let's go back to this Budapest Gambit idea. When they play e5, you take it. Now after knight g4, there's some tricky stuff here. So pay careful attention to this line. I'm going to keep it simple. Knight f3. He's playing bishop c5. Don't let him take care. That would be really, really bad. I don't like that. E3. Simple stuff, man. Knight C3, Knight C3. When he takes. Yeah, boom. Bishop E2. And guess what? After he castles, this is going to look a lot like our Slav. Say if the pawn's there and the H-pawn imaginary is still there, we have ourselves basically the same position as when we're playing in the Slav. Simple, solid chess. Get all your pieces developed. You have no problems when you have no weaknesses and you use all your pieces. Do it. Let the guy beat himself for you. I promise it'll happen. All right. So that was the Budapest Gambit. Knocked that one out pretty easy. Now let's start looking at some of these interesting lines. All right. So let's first start with C5 here. When they play C5, we push on by and get some space. Now, if he goes with this is the Czech Benoni. I'm just going to put my pieces on good squares. No problem. So, usually when guys play the Czech Benoni, they are looking to do this maneuver, and the idea is he wants to trade off this bishop. So I ain't going to let him. Now, if he goes after this pawn, it's at his own peril, man, because I'm going to get something going with this open H-file. This is the type of stuff that quick attacks and monstrous gets punched in the face is made out of. Okay? That probably didn't make any sense, but it's going to be okay. Because eventually, I'm going to work my queen over here, and I'm going to try to mate you. So, if they don't get greedy and take the pawn, maybe they start over here. Well, we can stop the guy from playing over there, too. So if he goes with normal moves like G6 and I get this in, you know, he's going to have some indistinct problems pretty quickly with H5. So just keep this in mind. This is not a hard opening to play against with this whole Czech Benoni system. So going back, once we play D5, we see the move B5. This is the Binko Gambit. Take, and you know, people who play Gambits want a fast attacks. We're not going to let this guy have any fun. E3 is a very rare sideline, which will surprise a Binko Gambit player. And after G6, Knight C3, we're going to put our pieces on natural squares. If he ever takes, take with a B, and you're nice and solid and supported. Rook A3, very, very powerful move. And we're looking for ideas of eventually swinging this rook over after E4. So if black messes around here, he decides finally to take, we have got everybody covered, and I am not scared of these types of positions because I got runners, baby. These guys are going to go. All right? This is how you play these positions. You hold on to your extra pawn with dear life, Karpov it, and then survive and win. All right? That's the Binko Gambit. We're running. We're hitting the ground running here. All right, so after knight f6, we got c4. Let's see if we talk a little bit about e6. Because after knight c3, we got two major variations that you need to know. One, Nimzo Indian. Two, we're back in the c5 stuff. After d5, he takes. Now we're in the straight Benoni. After knight f3, g6, remember where the pieces go. Because I promise, if you remember this picture, you're good to go. After a6, anytime they play a6, you look at playing a4 because we don't want that guy to get space. Now, keep in mind, this is the weak point of the Benoni. Weakest spot. Focus on it because this is what's about to happen. We're going to Ariana Grande this thing. All right, knight h5, bishop h2, f5. Focus on me. He's coming. He's coming to c4. Focus on me. After knight d7, knight c4, and boom, there it is. He's going to have some serious problems defending this guy. Long term, you got some ideas with rook e1, maybe some bishop takes h5. That's definitely a bad line I showed you for black, but I mean, I was really just emphasizing the whole d-pawn thing. And then, after rook e1, you put the bishop on f3, we get some e4 in. We're having a great time. Another line that I don't see going to be having a lot of problems. But Benoni's, I don't see him too much in tournaments anymore, but have to respect it. But if you learn the line, you're good to go with it. Okay? Rolling it back. Now, we are in the last two variations. Knight c3, and after d5, we got ourselves a Grunfeld. Keep in mind, same types of ideas. I almost forgot the Nimzo Indian. I'm going to go back and hit that one too. So after bishop g5, I am not worried about this position. Because say knight e4 is the main line, not scared. In this position we can take, and if he plays bishop g7, oh my bad, taking e3, just be mindful, don't hang your bishop. Don't hang him. So we need to play moves like queen d2 here to defend, and we're good to go. Also, keep in mind that that's actually not the main line. The main line's after bishop g7, knight f3, then knight e4. We have the very cool move c takes d5, and after takes, normally e6 is played, knight f3, takes, and then we have the very, very nice move b4. Playing for a minority attack, so if they ever play moves like c6, we timely play b5 in order to weaken his position. But after bishop e2, say knight bd7, castles, we have a very, very reasonable position for white. Alright, so that covers the Grunfeld. Now let's go ahead and roll it back to the King's Indian, and then we'll finish it up with the Nimzo-Indian defense. After bishop g7, knight f3, castles. Again, bishop g5. Same position as when we faced the Grunfeld. Same position with the Queen's Gambit decline. Pretty close. We exchanged the c for the d pawn, but the piece structure is still the same, so the ideas are basically the same. Now just keep in mind, we just want to put our pieces on good squares and play chess. This is really all you need to know about this opening. And if black is hitting in the center, we don't want to move the pawns in front of our king. The plan's on the queen side. Make it happen. Watch this. We're going to go a few moves in this game just to emphasize. b4, c5, and then a lot like we talked about, we got this pawn hitting again. We got the minority attack type ideas. And there we have that linear pattern between the Grunfeld and the King's Indian. Now, arguably the most popular opening you're going to see is once we come here, after e6, we got bishop b4, which is the Nimzo-Indian. So in order of popularity, I'm going with, you're going to face the Queen's Gambit and Slav, you're going to face the King's Indian and Nimzo-Indian. All four of them are taking up about 8 out of 10 chess games. Everything else is going to be in those other 2 out of 10. They're just really not played that often. So, it goes in popularity swings. Like if some player in an area is really good, or a coach of a chess club is playing a specific opening, a lot of his players is going to play that. So after bishop b4, we have the Nimzo just defend the bishop. No need to let him mess up your pawn structure. And after castles, we play bishop g5, and we see again this idea that is similar to what we've seen in the other variations. And after d5, e3. After h6, I recommend taking in this line, because we could have some problems if we don't with bishop h4 and g5. And after taking, we're going to see a structure that is very similar to what we've seen in the previous couple variations. At some point, we want to play some minority attack type stuff. And in this game, after a4, Volkov was playing with white. He's definitely a great, solid player. Plays for the Miami Champions. And we have ourselves some ideas with knight b7 and other things. Now, I just hit every major variation that can be thrown against you when you play d4 in a Nimzo-Indian style. Now, please keep in mind, most important variations again, Queen's Gambit, Slav, King's Indian, Nimzo-Indian, Grunfeld, Benoni, Benko, those are second tier, only played in, say, 2 out of 10 games. The Dutch is maybe played 1 out of 10, tops. And then the other variations, like the counter gambit, exchange variation, let's see, Queen's Gambit accepted. Those variations are played very, very rarely. I just don't see them that often, so you can spend less time on those. I'm not saying don't look at them a lot. When we started the video, we talked about going through these openings until you know them like your ABCs. Now make it happen, and let's